Anyone who's watched any of my videos knows, as a teen in the early 90s, Nirvana was one of the first bands that I really got into. Beyond just being a fan of the music, they became a musical gateway drug that introduced me to a whole world of underground music that I didn't know existed. Like, for example, I discovered the music of artists like the Raincoats, Meat Puppets, the Vaselines, Dinosaur Jr., and even Leadbelly. And that was all because Kurt Cobain cited them as musical influences. It was an exciting time of musical discovery for me. So, in connection with this, back in 2002, Kurt's personal journal was published. And among Nirvana fans, the reaction was mixed. There were those that thought it was in poor taste, but then there was those who thought it provided a fascinating glimpse into the psyche of a musical genius who died way too soon. Regardless, the book became a number 1 bestseller. So, one of the most interesting aspects of the journals was the revelation that in many ways, Kurt was just your typical music fan. And like your typical music fan, he liked to make lists. For example, he listed out the 50 albums that he felt were the most influential on Nirvana's sound. And it's really intriguing to see the diverse set of influences that helped make Nirvana one of the most important rock bands of all time. Also, looking at Kurt's musical influences, it raises the question of what if? Some of the albums on the list were less obvious influences. So if he was still alive today, would that have pointed towards his future musical directions? So what we're going to do now is we're going to spotlight 8 of the albums that made Cobain's list. So the first album is Surfer Rosa by the Pixies. So this is the 1988 full-length debut, and it was number 2 on Kurt's list. And it's one of the more obvious albums in terms of influence that it had on Nirvana sound. Like in many ways, the Pixies really helped draw up the grunge blueprint, especially with the loud, soft dynamic. So, concerning this album, Cobain made the following statement. He said, I was completely nihilistic up until about 4 or 5 years ago when I first heard this. It changed my attitude. It made me finally admit, after being into punk rock for so many years, that I finally liked other styles as well. It made me finally admit that I'm a music lover. So the second album we're going to discuss is Son of a God by Vaselines. So this is a free song EP released in 87 by the Scottish indie duo, and it was number 4 on Cobain's list. My So Nirvana covered the EP's title track, which originally appeared on their 1992 EP, Home Morning, which was only released in Japan and Australia, and then received even more increased exposure on the band's 1992 compilation, Incesticide. So concerning Eugene Kelly and Francis McKee of the Vaselines, Kurt said, I just have this feeling Eugene and Francis had a really cool relationship. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it's a really amazing thing when a couple can get on together and write some of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. So even that shows that Kurt Cobain had a sentimental, sensitive side as well. So concerning the duo's influence, it's also interesting to note that Cobain named his daughter Frances Bean Cobain after McKee. And then along with Son of a God, Nirvana also covered two other Vaseline songs. Jesus Doesn't Want Me for a Sunbeam, which appeared on MTV Unplugged in New York, and Maury's Lips, which also appeared on the Incesticide compilation. So if you're interested in discovering more about the Vaselines, a good entry point is the 1992 compilation, The Way of the Vaselines, A Complete History, which was also released in 2009 as Enter the Vaselines, with a bonus disc of unreleased materials. So this really includes all of the recordings up to that point. So the next album we're going to discuss is Nevermind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols by the Sex Pistols. So the Sex Pistols' 1977 debut and their only proper studio album was number 14 on Cobain's list. And it's really not a surprise to find out that this landmark punk record was an influence on Nirvana's sound. And Kurt made the following statement about its influence. The Pistols album had the best production of any rock record I've ever heard. It's totally in your face and compressed. All the hype the Sex Pistols had was totally deserved. They deserved everything they got. And Cobain also noted comparisons made between the two bands, saying, the only reason I might agree with people calling our band the Sex Pistols of the 90s is that for both bands, the music is a very natural thing, very sincere. But in terms of influence, fuck no. Rock is too exhausted for that. We haven't produced a totally original sound like that. We might be uncompromising, but that's about it. We're an obvious metamorphosis. So the next album we're going to discuss is Colossal Youth by Young Marble Giants. So released in 1980, this album is the only full-length studio album by the Welsh post-punk band. And it was number 22 on Cobain's list. The album reached number 3 on the UK indie charts, and it was an influence on a number of indie and alternative artists. So concerning the album, Kurt made the following statement. This music relaxes you. It's total atmospherics. It's just nice, pleasant music. I love it. The drum machine has to have the cheesiest sound ever. So the next album is Burning Farm by Sean and Knife. So this was ranked 26 on Kurt's list, released in 1983, mostly sung in Japanese, This was the first proper studio release of the all-female Japanese pop-punk band. It had a limited cassette release in the United States through the small indie label K Records. It was that cassette that brought Kurt Cobain to tears, as he later admitted. Eventually, through a week of listening to it every day, started crying. That's how much it affected me. Couldn't believe that three people from a totally different culture could write songs as good as those. Also, because he was such a fan, he asked the band to open for Nirvana. So from November 24th through December 11th, 1991, Sean and Knife opened for the band during their UK tour. So the next album we're going to discuss is Leadbelly's Last Sessions by Leadbelly, which was ranked at number 33 on Kurt's list. So the music of the legendary folk and blues artist had a profound effect on Cobain. And this is even highlighted in the fact that during the MTV Unplugged performance, like basically the highlight of that set was Kurt Cobain's cover of the traditional tune "Where Did You Sleep Last Night," which was popularized by Leadbelly. And it was even a thing during the banter during the set where Kurt Cobain talked about wanting David Geffen to purchase Leadbelly's guitar for him. So that particular song does not appear on this album, but that just highlights the impact that Leadbelly had. But concerning this particular album, Kurt wrote the following. They happened when this guy who'd been following his career, this is a note, the guy following his career is Aaron Lomax, noted music archivist. But we'll get back to what Kurt says here. So it mentions they happened when this guy who's been following his career for a few years caught him on a 2-track tape recorder one night when they were hanging out at his hotel. It's just really cool. I hope that my songs approximate that honesty. That's what I strive for. He was like the first punk rocker. He'd get into town, walk into an all-right bar, try to have a drink, get beat up, and then go to jail because of it. So it's really cool to hear his music, especially the air of the recordings themselves, because it's so eerie to hear it on this crackly 2-track.
Ain't it a shame to go fishing on a Sunday? Ain't it a shame? Ain't it a shame to go fishing on a Sunday?
So the next album is It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back by Public Enemy, which was 43 on Kurt's list. So this 1988 hip-hop classic, this is the only rap album on the list. And on the surface, it may seem to be a surprising inclusion. Like Nirvana never incorporated any rap elements in their music, and Kurt's lyrics are not as politically charged as Public Enemy, even though at times he did touch upon different social issues. And even in connection with that, my first shameless plug on my website, Ongoing History of ProtestSongs.com, I do have an article on a list of 5 Nirvana protest songs. But like I said, on the surface, they seem to be polar opposites, but there is a couple of common links. So one of the big common links is the honesty and intensity of the music. And really, Public Enemy's music attack was as hard hitting as just about any rock band. So it may not be immediately obvious, but Kurt Cobain being influenced by Public Enemy, if we take time to analyze it, it does make perfect sense. There's also a little interesting trivia tidbit. In At the 2014 Grammy Awards, Kurt Cobain, along with bandmates Dave Grohl and Chris Novoselic, they were actually nominated for Best Rap Song. And the reason why is because the Jay-Z song, Holy Grail, it contained elements of Smells Like Teen Spirit.
My man! Oh my God, I can't believe what? Chicken butt.
So the last album we're going to discuss is This Real by the Ripos. So this is the 1980 debut album by the Portland band, and it was rejoined on Kurt's list by 2 other Ripos albums. The 1981 album, Youth of America, and 1983's Over the Edge. So concerning the album and the band, Cobain made the following statement. Is this real? Yes, it is. The Ripos released maybe 4 or 5 albums. The first 2 were totally classic and influenced the Melvins and all the other punk rock bands. They're one of the bands I tried to assimilate. The songs were so good. Greg Sage was pretty much the romantic, quiet, visionary kind of guy. What more can I say about them? They started Seattle grunge rock in Portland, 1977. So Nirvana covered 2 songs from Is This Real? They recorded Return of the Rat for the 1992 tribute album, 8 songs for Greg Sage and the Ripos, and they also recorded D7, which appeared on the Whole Morning EP and was also used as a B-side for the UK release of Liquid. And also a live version of D7 appeared on the 2009 CD/DVD release of Live at Reading. So those were the 8 songs we're going to discuss. So for the full list of 50, I'll post the entire list in the description. So what did you think of Kurt Cobain's list? Do you see how these albums would have influenced Kurt Cobain's sound? Was there any that were surprising to you? What are your personal thoughts about any of the albums? Were there any of the albums that you liked or hate? Feel free to let me know in the comments. If you want me to keep making content like this, please like and subscribe. And you can also check out my website, Ongoing History of Protest Songs.com. You can also feel free to check out other videos, such as the video that I previously made doing a tier list ranking of every single track on Nirvana's Nevermind. So thanks for watching, and please stay safe.
She said she'll take me anywhere, she'll take me anywhere, as long as I stay clean. Kiss, kiss Maui's lips, kiss, kiss Maui's lips, kiss, kiss Maui's lips, kiss, kiss Maui's lips.